Alright guys, welcome back with me Nathan, and in this video we are going to explore the switch statement in JavaScript. The switch statement is a part of core JavaScript syntax that allows you to control the execution flow of your code. It's often thought of as an alternative to the if-else statement that gives you more readable code, especially when you have many different conditions to assess. Let's see an example of creating a switch statement. First, we need to write the switch statement, of course, and then parentheses, and then curly brackets. The curly brackets is for the switch body, and in the parentheses, you need to pass the value that you want to evaluate using the switch statement. So, for example, let's pass an integer value of 10. Next, inside the switch body, you need to write the case values that the switch statement will try to match. You need to write the case statement like this, followed by the value you want to evaluate. So for example, let's say 10, and then followed by a colon. The colon is used to mark the start of the case block. Now inside the case body, you need to write the code that you want to run when the case matches the actual argument passed to the switch statement. For example, let's just write a console.log here, say that the value is 10. To close the case body, you need to write the break statement like this. I will explain later why we need to use a break statement, but for now, let's continue and write another case statement, and this time the value is 20. Inside the case body, we will also write console.log, say that the value is 20, and then break, and then we need to write a default case. So the default code block will run when all the cases written above the default block here don't match the value of the switch argument. Here we're just going to say the value is neither 10 or 20. There's no need to add a break statement at the end of the default case because the switch statement will immediately end after the default block. Now if we save the changes and then run the terminal, run this code on the terminal, we're going to see that the value is 10 is printed out to the console. This is because the switch argument, which is 10, matches the first case. If we change the argument to 20, and run the code again, then the switch statement will match the second case. Now if we change the switch argument to 30, save the changes and run the code again, you can see that the default case is executed. This is because none of the existing cases above match the switch argument value. Alright, so that's how the switch statement runs. Now we are going to explore why we need the break statement. Well, the break statement is required because JavaScript will run the next case statement even after the switch argument has already found a match. For example, let's omit the break here, and then we're going to change the switch argument to 10. Run the code. Here you can see the cases and the default code block are all executed by JavaScript. This is because without the break statement, JavaScript will continue to run the code inside the switch statement body. To prevent that from happening, the break statement must be added to each of the case block. Next, you need to keep in mind that the value for a case block must exactly match the switch argument value. For example, if you write the case value as a string like this, and then run the code, you see that the switch argument, which is an integer of 10, doesn't match the case value, which is a string of 10. The value you write in the case statement must exactly match the value you pass to the switch statement. One of the most common mistakes when using the switch statement is that some people will provide an expression to the case statement. Let me give you an example. So for example, let's say we have a variable called score with the value of 10 here. And then we pass this value to the switch statement. And then in the case statement, we write a logical expression like this. And for the second one, also the same. Next, we need to modify the print statement a bit. And then also change the default code block print statement. So here we have the score variable with a value of 10, and then we are trying to use a switch statement to evaluate that variable. When the score is below 10, we are going to print out the value is less than 10. When the score is less than 20, we're going to print out the value is less than 20, and the default case will print out the value is 20 or more. Now if we try to run this code, you see that even though the score value is 10, so the second case should run, right? Logically, you want the value is less than 20 to be printed instead of the value is 20 or more. But this doesn't work because the case statement here evaluates to true. So it's just the same like comparing the score, the actual score, the integer 10, with a Boolean value of true here. This is what we're doing with the previous statement. When you compare the integer 10 with the Boolean value true, it just doesn't match, right? If you want to match a range of values like this, what you need to do is that you need to write multiple case statements. So for example, case 1, and then case 2, because this still match, right? This is still, the value is still less than 10. Case 3 and 4, all the way up to case 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, and finally case 9. You can write the case statements vertically or horizontally. Both works in JavaScript. And yeah, and so if you want to match the range of values like from 1 to 9, you need to write all of them instead of using a logical expression like this one. So now that we have learned how the switch statement works, the question is when to use a switch statement. Well, based on my experience, you only use the switch statement when the if statement is cumbersome to write. Let me show you an example. I'm just going to copy and paste some code here. There you go. Here we have a variable called weekday number, and that variable is going to be evaluated using an if and else if statements. So if the number is between 0 to 6, it will print out the name of days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and so on. When the number is not between 1 and 6, it will print out the weekday number is invalid. Now there's nothing wrong with this if statement, but as you can see here, all the values inside of the if statements are all exact matches, right? In this one, the weekday number matches exactly 0. In this one, the weekday number matches exactly 1. And then exactly matches 2 and so on. The code works 100% without any problem. But instead of writing it using an if statement like this, it will be better to use a switch case statement. Let me copy paste some code again here. And there you go. Let's just close this. When you have multiple if-else statements where all if statements have exact matches, it's better to use a switch case like this, because as you can see, the code is shorter and more concise. But if you have an if statement where the expression can match a certain range of values, like for example, maybe here, you're going to write less than or equal to 6. This code isn't logically correct, but what I want you to see is that this logical expression matches a range of numbers, right? Probably between 0 to 6. To copy this exact expression using case statements, you need to write all the cases to match the if statement range. So for example, here you need to write a case 0, case 1, case 2, case 3, case 4, and finally case 5. I'm like this one case statement here is equal to weekday number less than or equal to 6. So when you have if expression that matches a range of values, it's better to use an if statement. But if you have exact matches, you can use the switch case statements. And that is how the switch statement works. I hope you learned something from this video, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That will help this channel a lot. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in other videos.